The scientists know now that there are about 100 billion stars in our galaxy and about 100 billion galaxies in the visible universe. The point is that there are so many stars in the universe that the likelihood of life evolving around them, even if it were possibilities of 1 in a million, there would be hundreds of millions of worlds in the universe.
Cyberpunks and retro nerds, Johnny Rocket here, and I'm kicking off another episode of Neon Trash. And guess what? We're drinking beer.
What?
Yes.
Who would have thunk it?
And I'm going to be drinking it with the dreaded drunken gamer, Dino, Tommy the Hammer, host of the Mouse. And I know these guys like beer every bit as much as I do, so without further ado,
No, you don't.
Three Floyds has made Zombie Dust, and this wicked box art caught my eye, and I was like, I hope this is as good as this awesome art, because I'm going to buy this. You know, it's what they call an undead pale ale, so I don't know what the fuck that means.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
But it better not turn me into a goddamn zombie.
The artwork is pretty badass, gotta say.
Alpha King. Alpha King is probably
King
the
is,
best.
Mwah.
Yeah, that is San Magnifique.
Hey, wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Jesus!
Steve fucking Christ!
Jumping the gun over here! Well, we'll get to that.
You gotta appreciate the art on the can, first of all.
I did! I showed the camera! I'm like, look how cool that looks! Crack, glug, glug, glug.
Alright, so what we got here is, you know, an undead pale ale. I don't know exactly what that means. This intensely hopped and gushing undead pale ale will be one's only respite after the zombie apocalypse. I like the way that kind of puts some doom and gloom on your soul.
It smells like a good IPA from 10 feet away.
Dude, that is so good.
Alright.
That is so fucking good. Dude, I almost think it rivals Alpha King. Like,
Well,
almost.
it's definitely just kind of like the Indian Pale Ale version of the Alpha King. It's kind of like Alpha King souped up.
It does look like he has an A on his crown, this undead zombie master dude.
Was he the Alpha King before he died?
Ooh, now he's the undead elf.
Wow, you guys are writing some stupid stories, but what I'm catching here is definitely like this like ghost-like orange peel note that
Yes.
kind of like dances around the overall flavor. You're catching the hops, you're catching that kind of like watered down caramely notes. This is a subdued beer in my opinion. I feel like this is Three Floyds absolutely in complete and total control of their beer making craft. This is delicious.
I gotta agree with it. It's definitely a more subtle flavor, but it still, I don't know, finishes with that real hoppy IPA flavor, which I'm not a super huge fan of. I might like a little more flavor on the front end to kind of balance that real bitter finish, personally, but overall it's still very good, very quaffable for sure.
Out of 10 stars, I'm gonna give this a solid 8, 8.5. Rocket?
I'm gonna go about a 7.5 for this. It's not exactly in the old wheelhouse, but it's pretty good.
This like tastes like an IPA from 10 feet away, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It's very subtle.
It's almost like there's nothing, and oh wait, there it is. Which is kind of a cool thing. Like, I didn't know you could make beer do that.
Yeah, and it kind of like embodies this ghost-like specter, blind dead, you know, logo on the can. I like it. I think this is a great beer.
If like your hipster IPA friend with a big ass beard, like us guys, like, oh, I got this hard IPA. Like, when they bring this around, then you can be like, hey, maybe I do want one of those zombie dusts, because it's not overpowering. Like, but it is a really tasty IPA. So if you're an IPA drinker, you should like it. And if you're just trying to catch a buzz and that's all that's around, like, it will be palatable to you. It's right next to the Alpha King. So, like you said, I'll give it an 8.
So I say, let's kick this party up a notch.
Bang! Holy shit! Where did these motherfuckers come from? What is going on?
Yeah, that's how we level up the party right there.
You bust out a movie and then 2 friends come out of nowhere? Holy shit!
I mean, when they heard we're gonna watch something epic like 2001: A Space Odyssey, this attracts the eyeballs. I mean,
My balls!
what can we say? Stanley Kubrick really amped up the cinematography game with this movie. Like, this blew minds at the time. We're going all the way back to 1968.
Pick off the trailer, peep that shit. We'll be right back, assholes.
Got done watching 2001: A Space Odyssey, and what an absolutely stunning piece of film. Like, I've seen it a number of times, it's been a little bit, but this movie is still every bit as profound as it was the first time I saw it. And I mean, a lot of times, you know, you could say, oh, well, a lot of these movies are based on a book, and usually the book's better, right? And
Well, you watched it. Or read it.
a lot of times movies, you know, are based on books, and that is the case here. Arthur C. Clarke first penned this novel, and this movie is as close to the book, I think, as you can get, especially for the time it was made. Like, it's, you know, obviously, you know, the book can go into more detail and has some more fleshed out areas, you know, because if you were to really make the whole book into a movie, it'd be 10 hours long, right? And this is already long enough at almost 2.5 hours. But it really, Kubrick really hits like the main points, I think, that Clarke, you know, was writing about here, you know, and some of it's, you know, left up to the interpretation of your mind, of course, you know, but it was also like that in the book. Like, even though you were, you know, reading these things, you're still left this sense of, wait, what the fuck is this thing? What is this monolith? What is it really doing here?
This is your first time ever seeing the movie. It's a long one, so like, you probably heard. I mean, obviously, you heard a lot of people talk about this movie. Did it live up to any of that hype? Because that's an angle I'm actually kind of curious about.
Well, this National Lampoon style buddy comedy between a guy and a robot in space really hits it. I love the comedy soundtrack and just the antics that incur between these two characters.
Yeah.
And I really like.
I want to see that version.
Jesus.
I really do.
Guys suck.
No, this movie is amazing. A lot of the parts in it that I watched, I was like, they didn't film this in space. I was like, this is
What?
You know, like this is
Exactly. Like,
I was like, holy shit! Like,
so easily allowed you to be immersed in that set and completely buy into the fact that you were in space. Like, nothing, you know, you didn't see, you know, fishing line holding the, you know, ships as they danced by.
Yeah.
Like, they really, it was so well filmed and sold. It really was.
stands up to what everybody says about it. And yeah, it was good to finally watch this movie in its entirety. It's a treat.
Yeah, fantastic. And then BC, like you said, that this movie, you haven't seen this in like since you were a kid.
Right.
So obviously we're both coming from the same, you know, vantage point. You know, I don't know if it was your father that showed you. For me, it was my father. You know, he sat me down. He was like, "Tommy, you are going to watch one of the finest sci-fi movies you're ever going to see." And like any kid during that era, I fought it, but by the end of it, I was won over, and I continually think back on 2001. What about you, man? Like, is it as affecting to you, or do you draw something different from it completely.
So I think even though I'd seen it, I was so young, and this is such a long, slow burn of a movie that I didn't soak anything in at that time.
Right.
It was just like, it wasn't even like fighting it, it was like I just didn't allow myself, I just didn't go into it at all.
Okay.
And then I've seen other Kubrick movies more recently, and I'll say this off the bat, out of the ones I've seen, which I feel like are most of his big ones, I think that this is better than all of them.
Ooh.
Like, decidedly. I just think that it's more interesting.
Okay.
And I feel like there's other sci-fi directors that are super well known. Like, I think like Tarkovsky, the Russian one. He's a sci-fi director, but he doesn't come at things in the same angle as this movie. And so, if you're into a certain type of sci-fi, you might lean like one way or the other, and then there's horror, sci-fi. There's so many different ways, but I feel like this one, for what it is, which is pretty much like, to me, you know, it's trying to touch on like how vast the universe is.
I just like heard about it and like I gotta see it. I saw it at the rental place. I rented it, and it's a brilliant movie. Like for 1968, like it's ahead of its time, and it's like it's still like obviously we're in 2020 and we're not where we where 2001 would be in this film.
We're not there yet.
It would be nice if we would be, but at the same time that's scary because like being out in space is kind of scary. Like when you're a little kid, you're like, I want to be an astronaut, and then you get old and you're like, nope, that's scary.
Space is no way.
I really like what the movie did in the aspect of like just predicting what it would be like in the future. Because my favorite movie of all time, even though I know I'm wrong, is Back to the Future 2, and it's a look at what the future would be. A very poppy, like a pop culture version of what the future would be, but I still really, really love Back to the Future 2.
These are pieces of pop culture history. These are directors and actors and special effects artists that are taking chances, taking risks, and they were doing things during an era where, you know, you could kind of do that. Like Hollywood back in the day wasn't afraid of taking risks. They would let a director like spread their wings and like dig their, you know, talons as it were into its audience and like try to tell this abstract psychedelic story. You know what I'm saying? And if I was to compare 2001 to anything, I would say it's Altered States. You know what I'm saying? I feel like this is a movie that transcends sci-fi. I love it. I love Stanley Kubrick. And I'm glad that we got to touch on this finally on my channel. 2001, Space Odyssey. I would have to say my favorite Stanley Kubrick, you know, might be Passive Glory, or even the other end of the spectrum with The Shining. But the man is notorious. He's excellent. And 2001, in my opinion, gets 10 out of fucking 10.
This movie's great. Enough said. Everybody needs to watch it. Put it in your pocket. Give it a 9.5.
Boom.
PC?
Alright, for me, is this my favorite Stanley Kubrick film? Yes. I always thought, well, I think that Stanley Kubrick is a great filmmaker, but none of his movies have really quite impacted me in a way where it's like, do I want to rewatch? Do I have a connection? Does it make me think that deeper? It's no surprise it's considered a culturally important film, and I think what sold me were the opening scene and the ending scene, and then the score throughout the film. I think those three things are what sold me the
There's the
most.
stitches to the film.
Yeah, I think the opening was amazing, and the ending was amazing in a completely different way.
Right.
And that contrast was just awesome to see. And so yeah, I'm gonna go with, I mean, I said it's a classic, so 10 out of 10.
Oh, fuck!
Yeah.
God damn, we are high end! Rocket, this is your VHS, your choice tonight, dude. We're rocking your socks off. What's your star count?
I mean, what can I say? This is probably. I mean, I don't know if I could really, you know, rate all the Kubrick films I've seen as what's my favorite. I really like all of his stuff, you know, for various things, the different stories he tells in certain movies. But like this source material, this book by Arthur C. Clarke is one of my absolute favorite books of all time. And seeing this movie, it's so well done. I can't give it anything less than 10 stars because it's just that good. And if you like this at all, if you like it, if you don't like it, if you're confused by it, read the book.
Or just rewatch it.
Rewatch the movie, but I have to really recommend reading the book as well. Please read the book too. Diener.
That's the narrative standpoint.
Damn, all these 10s. Like,
uh-oh.
I was gonna give it a 9. Like, it's a brilliant film. It's like the serious Back to the Future. But it's a little on the slow side. Slow burner, if you will. If you've been drinking, like, it might be hard to pay attention to it. But it's pretty awesome when you're playing Final Fantasy IV and watching it at the same time. So it gets a 9 out of me.
I love this movie, and it's in my top, I mean, I could say top 10, but like, you know, the wide world of cinema is so vast. I put it in my top 100, you know what I'm saying?
Easily top 100. I mean, I would say maybe top 25.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's way up there. It really is way up there.
Yes, absolutely. So anyways, thank you for tuning in, guys. I hope we've been informative. Until the next time, tune in to Neon Trash. See you, motherfuckers. Beep.